and welcome back to everyone and to another edition of NXT Out of 10. It's a big show today because of course it is the last NXT before we get to Heatwave, and there's some big matches on here, including Javon Evans versus Trick Williams to determine who will be the number one contender. But the show kicked off with Josh Briggs and Inamora's street fight, and they were wasting no time. There was no lock up and easy into this match. They were fighting all around the ring and going for weapons almost immediately. Both did a good job selling their personal nature. With Heatwave coming up on Sunday, it was shocking this belt wasn't safe for them. It feels like one of NXT's best storylines. Briggs used the role of tape to tie Inamura to the top rope and beat him with a kendo stick. Once he freed himself, Inamura began unloading on his former friend. Both men put each other through tables, but it was Briggs who got the win with his spot. He almost missed Inamura and landed on him mostly with his legs, but it worked. This was a fun and energetic way to get the show going, and yeah, get 6 out of 10. A really solid match. But yeah, like I said, I'm surprised it wasn't actually included at the pay-per-view. Before our next match was Ricky Saints versus Jasper Troy. As Saints made his way to the ring for the match, Briggs bumped his shoulder as a sign of disrespect. Saints came out the gates with a drop kick in an attempt to take control, but Troy barely moved. Saints got him to his knees with a staple, but the powerhouse was able to muscle out of it. This was a typical big v small guy. Saints is not the small, so it tells you how big Troy is to be put in that position. Troy's inexperience definitely came into play. Saints did a good job trying to mask it, but there was a noticeable lack of chemistry between the two. They don't look too bad working together, but give Troy a year and make some mistakes in this match won't be a problem. Saints ended up getting a win after Troy missed the sense on the CL sets and was planted with 2 DDTs, which seemed to shock Booker T on commentary. So yeah, it was a decent match, probably not their best, but I think there would be an improvement if we saw it again. 5 out of 10. Before Jordan Grace came to the ring and talked about her career and being duped into thinking she had an apprenticeship with Monroe, she says she doesn't care about revenge, but what she does want to show is Monroe exactly who she is. This brought out their glamour with a team of security guards by her side. Monroe tried to insult her rival, but Grace points out she was in the ring at Evolution while Monroe was on the sideline, which made her jealous. Grace took out the security to win the segment. This was a cookie cutter segment, but for what it was perfectly fine. As we then moved on to the Elegance brand versus Fatal Influence, Heather M and Ash visited from TNA this week to take on JC Jane, Fallon Henry and Jasmine Nix. Masha Slamovich got her wish to be the special guest ref. Em and Henry started for their teams, but Fatal Influence took control. While it wasn't exhausted, the announcers didn't make as many references to Dana Brooke. They sort of tiptoed around it by not saying her old name. The match was back and forth most of the time. Both had some opportunities to be in control, so all sportswomen had time doing, but Ash did the heavy lifting for her team since she was the most recognisable talent. Slamovich booted the personal concierge from ringside after he interfered, but he had enough time to give his team the upper hand by tripping Henley to distract her. While this match had slow points and a few weak moments, overall it was enjoyable. All 6 had their moment to shine, and we also got to see different combinations work together. After Ash almost won, when it sorted by the ref being distracted, Jane came in and decked her with a huge right to get the pin. And yeah, like I say, it is alright. 6 out of 10. Building nicely towards Saturday. So yeah, all worked well. 6 out of 10. Paige and Green then came out with some new combined entrance music for their segment with Ceiling Heights. Paige started off by complimenting Heights and putting over his work before saying he despises him and how disrespected he feels. They exchanged a lot of words, but nothing new was said in this segment until the end when NXT GM Ava came out and finally booked a mixed Turton tag match between all of them. Paige and Green were both their usual entertaining selves with some brief fight and ended a good day in a good way. But this could have been half as long and accomplished the same thing really. As we then moved on to Javon Evans and Trick Williams in that number one contenders match, Evans found himself bleeding from the mouth after a few minutes, but it seemed to energise him, unloading on a flurry of kicks against Williams. It seemed like an even match up until Williams shoved Evans off the top rope and went flying through the announce table in a wild spot. Throughout the break, we saw Evans struggling to make it back into the ring during picture-in-picture. As soon as he got back in, Williams was on top of him again. Femi was watching from the balcony as the young OG struggled. Evans eventually made a comeback, but Williams didn't make it easy on him. Santana showed up and distracted Williams long enough for Evans to hit his finisher to get the win. And I think this is the right decision. Get 7 out of 10 from me. Obviously, it allows Trick to focus on the TNA stuff. And Evans, yeah, he really is a star, isn't he? And I can't wait for that match the weekend. That could be violent. So yeah, very good stuff. But overall, NXT this week gets a 5 out of 10 for me. It was pretty uneventful, but there were a few moments that stood out. That mixed tag match for the PLE is okay, but of course the opener, Briggs and Inamura, and that main event was all very solid. So I think, yeah, there were some highlights on the show, and definitely enough to keep us intrigued. Guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.